good soup.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup, and today, for the second week in a row, we will be discussing Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and I'm joined today by Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and Marissa, the Nerd Soup We're Not Sure Yet. And yeah, we're back, the big three, talking Game of Thrones for the second week in a row. I already said that, but we're doing it 2 weeks in a row. This is the second consecutive week in which we are doing this. Game of Thrones Season 8. You know what I didn't notice that we didn't point out in the review last night?
What?
A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
What
the
about?
book.
Yeah.
Dunk and Egg. Little reference to the title. A lot of deep cut references to the books in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, you always had the reference that somehow Brienne is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall, so it's kind of...
Is she really?
It's a theory.
Oh, I like that.
Because when she's going to find Sansa, she picks up that shield. I forget where she is in the castle. It's been such a long time, but it's described very closely to Dunk's...
To Dunk's shield?
Sigil, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Marissa, I guess we'll get your thoughts on the episode because we did our review. What did you think about the episode overall?
I like this episode much better than the first one. I thought the first one was okay, but it seemed like what we wanted out of the first episode we got in this one.
And it felt to me like a continuation. Like it was one long 2-hour episode.
Yeah, which made me wonder, we probably won't know until the whole season is finished and you can sort of rewatch the thing as a whole movie, like the way that they're intending. But I do wonder if the first 2 episodes couldn't have been one longer episode.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they had similar goals, both episodes, and what they wanted us to know and what they wanted the characters to do. But the second episode really did much better in accomplishing that than the first one.
And you could cut them together, that final scene of Jaime seeing Bran. What did you think about that first scene, the trial of Jaime Lannister?
Honestly, my first thought was like, Brienne is a day one.
She is. Yeah, and behind the scenes, Gwendolyn Christie said it was almost like a declaration of love, that she was standing up for this character because she does love him, and she knows the truth about the things that he did for her, that he put his life on the line to save a woman who was his captor, who was escorting him as a prisoner. So the bond that they formed, and you could see that good karma hit Jaime a lot of times.
I like to think of their journey as like a friendship journey, because I feel like for most people, it was when he was Brienne's captive that most people actually started to like him. Like, he became a likable character. So her defending him like this, it was really nice. And also, like, I love Jaime. So
yeah, me too.
I was like, I don't want them to do anything to him. But also, I did like when he said, like, everything he did, like, they were at war. He did it because he was trying to protect his house, which, yeah, they were at war.
Yeah. Seriously.
It makes sense. Like, I understand. Even though at the time I wasn't, like, super cool about it, but...
So many of the crimes that get attached to these characters, they're victims of society. And I think that's what the moment with Sansa and Theon, when she embraces him, that it was a little jarring to me at first. But now I appreciate it more because Theon was another victim of circumstance where he was caught in between loyalty to the Starks, loyalty to his birth family. He made the wrong decision in hindsight. But they talked about loyalty and houses, how all of that stuff really doesn't matter. It goes back to Littlefinger and Varys' speech about the lie that we tell ourselves to keep society together. At the end of the day, that's all nonsense. So you can forgive these characters for the crimes that they may have committed, because I guess that's what an apocalyptic event does, right?
Yeah, I also think with Sansa and Theon specifically, like, they were bonded by the fact that they were both tortured by Ramsay. Like, that is a unique experience that, as far as I know, only the two of them share. Like, is there anyone else who's around who was under
Probably
Ramsay's
not
thumb?
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably not
Former
alive.
Reeks, and I guess just people...
Manderly's son.
Except for Locke. I feel like he's the only one that enjoyed Ramsay's company.
Yeah, for some reason, Ramsay never picked on Locke.
Yeah.
He was like his big brother.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Locke.
But yeah, I love how Brienne, too, she kind of made it personal to Sansa, right? He armed me, he armored me, and set me... and entrusted me with fulfilling his oath to Catelyn Stark. And that's how I was able to protect and save you from Ramsay and his men.
Yeah.
And, you know, it didn't really take much for Sansa. She trusts Brienne. She trusts her with her life and trusts her judgment, obviously. So if she's out here vouching for Jaime and Tyrion as well, she mentions Daenerys, like, and we've seen it. Tyrion treated her so well. And Tyrion's probably someone she trusts as well. So I think that's enough for her.
And you can understand why Daenerys was hesitant, that she's going to bring up the murder of her father, but it's not necessarily about that. It's about his sister, the woman that he was just serving, sits on the throne that she was trying to take. And the last time they saw each other, not the last time, but he was riding a horse with a giant spear trying to kill her. So this could be a mission, a stealth mission by Cersei saying, hey, go up there alone. They'll believe that you actually did turn on me, and then you slit her throat. But obviously that wasn't the case. And Brienne standing up for Jaime, the title of the episode does point to both of those characters, because she's standing up and saying Jaime has fulfilled his vows as a knight, that he has been faithful to his oaths, the decisions that he's made. He has protected the innocent more so than any other man that she's probably ever met. And then towards the end of the episode, Brienne becomes the first female knight in Westerosi history. And that was just such a beautiful moment, because we always talk about how these titles can sometimes...
Well, it's like the Hound's perspective, too.
Yeah.
If Sir Gregor can be a knight, then it means nothing.
Yeah, right. They're meaningless. Brienne is the one character who actually deserves to have that title.
It was funny, too, when she tried to deny that she didn't want to be a knight, and Podrick gave her the look. He was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of flipped there, where Podrick's giving her the okay.
It's like our whole journey. I've heard you mutter in your sleep how much you wanted to be a knight. Like, don't lie in front. Don't get nervous now. It is such a great moment for such a great character throughout the years. Seeing her get the tears and that smile after. You have Tormund cheering her on. It was just...
She couldn't contain herself. She's always so stern and very shy, but in that moment, it was like a kid achieving his dream almost.
And I feel like some of the criticisms for this episode that I've seen is that it's a little fan servicey, or another one I've seen is that we only have 6 of these left, and it's kind of like an extended filler from episode 1, which I can understand to some extent. But for the fan service part, it's like, can we get a little happiness? Fan service isn't always a bad thing. MCU is chock full with it, and especially we don't know what's going to happen next episode, so it's kind of like I would hold off on the happiness and all that moments, because we don't know what's going to happen. And as far as just there's only 6 of these left, I mean, the big battle, like just seeing them all in that
war room,
yeah, but all culminating to this moment, and we need those characters moments to reinforce how much we love these characters and why we love them, and just that calm before the storm, them reminiscing, them being themselves in their last normal moment, probably for the rest of their lives. Because after this, there's no more normalcy. Everything you've known is going to be shattered. Your reality, your everything, and just seeing that calm before the storm, that camaraderie, those very human moments, I thought was each scene. It was displayed wonderfully, and like I said, the big fight's next episode, right?
Yeah.
There's an hour and 20 minutes, and then there's 3 more hour and 20-minute episodes after that.
Right.
And the big fight is next episode, so there's plenty of time still. So I would reserve judgment, and I think you said it before we were recording. This episode, in hindsight, can be viewed in a totally different light.
Yeah, it's going to be devastating to watch when half these characters are absolutely massacred in the next episode. We're going to see all these sweet moments, and it's going to be like he died in 10 minutes, she died in 5 minutes. They're all dead. Even the scene between, you said it, death flags. A lot of death flags in this episode.
It's like anytime any character mentions something about the future, or they got something that they wanted, I was like, they're done.
It's a completion almost. Somebody said that about Brienne. Her arc is complete.
There are so many death flags that now I can't help but wonder if they're trying to fake us out. Like
Could be.
They might just be like setting us up to think some characters are going to die and they won't, or maybe they just will die.
Well, that's the thing. People have to die in this episode. There are so many main characters. It's understandable when it's Battle of the Bastards and it's Jon, Davos, and Tormund. They survive. That's forgivable. Or when it's the Whispering Wood and Jaime is the one survivor. You have like 18 main characters in this episode.
Well, they've done it in the past with Carsey, right? When she says,
yes,
"Go to the ship to her children. I'll be with you in a minute." That's within the same episode, though. When you have a week to speculate and kind of theorize, I think they might have maybe thought of that and like, let's, maybe we'll throw a couple subversions where Grey Worm, that's the death flag, and he dies, but Brienne might survive. Or they alluded to the crypts how many times this episode?
A lot.
So many.
So something's going to happen in the crypts, but it's kind of like too obvious. Like you're in a room full of dead people to stay safe in tombs, and the Night King, what does he do? He resurrects the dead.
Yes.
It's
going to happen.
Yeah.
It can't happen with Ned Stark, right? Because, well, I guess his body can just be headless. And it goes back to that line in season 2, I think it's when Arya's with the Brotherhood. No, season 3, I think, where she says to Thoros, "Would you be able to resurrect a man without a head?" And he's like, "It doesn't work like that." Maybe the Night King can make that work.
Can the Night King resurrect people that like he or the Whites haven't killed?
Yes.
He can?
Yes, I think so.
Because I can't remember if it's happened in the show or not. I mean, I think
guess,
they
yeah,
might do
he
it
or
in
the
the show
Whites.
because, like, drama, but...
Right, I guess that's actually a good point. I would assume so, that he would be able to resurrect anybody who's dead. Because I think it's more of a just he's controlling their minds. Well, they don't have minds. He's just in control of their physical bodies. And then unless they get burnt or stabbed with dragonglass, then they can't be resurrected.
I'm trying to think. The White that was in Castle Black when Jon saved Jeor Mormont.
He might have been killed by
a White. They
yeah,
found the body, and it wasn't thawing.
that's who I was going to.
He wasn't rotting.
Yeah.
Sam pointed it out. He's always quick to point things out. And it's interesting, too, like when that little last montage, there's 2 montages this episode, and I talked about it in the review. Big montage guy.
Yeah, they doubled up.
But when Pod singing Jenny's song, and they kind of, who do they flash you? There's Grey Worm and Melisandre. There's
Sansa and Theon.
Sansa and Theon, Arya and Gendry, and Jorah.
Jorah, yeah.
So
Doing a little stutter step. I love that. I don't know why.
I wonder if that's like, I don't want to look too much into it because it could just be it's a good scene and you're seeing all your favorites, but maybe, Gendry or Arya, Melisandre or Grey Worm. I guess just Jorah, right?
Jorah
Yeah.
could die this episode.
Yeah. It seems like he's leading. I'd see him because Brienne is with the Veil, looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Jaime. That makes sense, Brienne and that Sansa connection. He looks like he's with the Dothraki. So
There's that one shot of the trailer that I love so much where it's Jaime on the battlements and he just screams, "Run!" I hope that's towards Brienne. Brienne finds herself on the battlements as well. She has that one shot where she's just ripping. She just rips through a White with her right hand.
I feel like let's get into the war room scene. Just like their plan going in. I feel like it's going to turn into chaos. Like, oh yeah, we had the left flank. Probably not for long. Like,
Brienne was literally sitting there like Dr. Strangelove. I can't believe I didn't bring that up last night.
Yeah.
Just sitting there in the wheelchair, rolling in, giving everybody commands. He's been my favorite part of the season so far. He's been just everything that the guy says, every line that he says, I'm hanging on to because his explanation for the Night King. And I think that's where it gets interesting with these last 3 episodes that they're all an hour and 20 minutes. How are they going to clean up after the battle? That it goes beyond the Night King's motivations, the true ending. But what did you think about that? That he just wants a forever night and that Bran is the memory of the world. Did you like that explanation?
I thought it was interesting.
It made me feel depressed.
well, I saw some people were upset about that because they wanted Bran to like go back and see what the Night King actually wanted. They kind of just I heard.
It sounds like he did.
Yeah, but I heard a couple people say like they wanted
Visually.
to see it visually, or he just 2 lines about it and that's it. Like I feel like some people wanted something more.
You know what they're doing, man?
We've always
they're setting
talked
up the
about
prequel. That drop about other 3-eyed ravens,
Mhm.
that's something that's never been talked about in the book, right? It was assumed that Brendan Rivers was just the first 3-eyed raven, but it sounds like he's had predecessors.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, but I feel like I never really gave too much thought into the D&D trying to set up the prequel because I feel like they're not going to be involved and they want to tell their story. So HBO, you can do a prequel, but we're still going to tell our story the way we want to.
Right. But
I like that too.
It might be natural, though. It might be a natural fit.
Yeah,
they might have came to them and said, this is the prequel, and they said, oh, that fits perfectly with our vision and George's vision because George is very involved with the prequel, and he gave them the ending.
But we've talked about it too. It's like when you unveil the curtain, lift the curtain too much, it kind of gives away that threat. So maybe
I still think we're going to see him go into the past.
Yeah.
That's the key line in the war room scene. Put me in the Godswoods. That's a very specific location because that's where he can plug in with the weirwood trees and he's able to see everything. I just can't wait for that confrontation between Bran and the Night King. I hope he's in the next episode. That would be ballsy if they kept him out of this battle, the Night King. But just to see all these characters together, and we talked about fan service, they're going to come together in the books because the big battle is going to happen in the books. So some of these characters got to come together, and Winterfell is where they have to make their stand. It's a castle that everybody is still trying to take in the books. Stannis is trying to take it from the Boltons. They say it in Season 6. If the Boltons hold Winterfell, we're screwed.
I hate the fan service argument because when there's no fan service, people complain, and when there is fan service, people complain. It's like,
But doesn't that feel like the natural narrative of this story, separating all the characters to recreate them and then bring them back together? That's what it always felt like.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What else? What did people want? No reunions?
Just the overall plan, too. I want to see, what's that trench weapon?
Yeah, that trench looked like a Venus flytrap or something. Just pull the carpet out. But there are so many great little lines in this, the way that all these characters were interacting. I thought the writing was brilliant. when Jon brings up the point that the Night King is not going to expose. No, the Night King, if we kill him, everybody falls. And Jaime brings up the point he's not going to expose himself. And Bran says, yes, he is, because he wants to come to me. Just all the input from all the different characters was brilliant.
I do wonder, though, during the War Room scene, they didn't really discuss the fact that, like, Bran said the Night King has Viserion.
Yes. They didn't discuss that at all.
They didn't, which
No.
that seems like a thing you should account for.
That's a very important piece of
beyond
information.
the fact that, like, you have 2 dragons and he only has 1, but he was clearly capable of taking down one of your dragons when you had 3 and he had none. So, especially if he's going to be coming for Bran, if he's coming for Bran on a dragon.
Well, they said that they were going to have Rhaegal and Drogon circle the Godswoods, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Close, but not too close.
Right.
Keep an eye just in case they don't want him.
Because there's a head nod between Jon and Daenerys when they walk up on the battlements, and he looks at Daenerys and gives her a head nod, and she's off.
Mm-hmm.
So she's probably going to be on Drogon. We see Jon on the field, not on a dragon in the trailer, but he might get on the back of Rhaegal.
Mm-hmm.
They might have some sort of plan here.
But yeah, I mean, just the plan in general, like we said, just basically using Bran as bait, right? They're trying to lure him in, and
well, that's the thing. What's the Night King's plan? Because in season 7, when Tyrion says to Daenerys, Cersei is setting a trap for us, and Daenerys says, are we setting any traps? The Night King's probably with his war council.
Yeah.
He's saying they're going to do this. We have to counter.
What do you think that sounds like?
They're just cackling.
Yeah.
Just like the crunch of ice. What did you think about that scene, Marissa, between Tyrion and Bran?
I really wanted to know what they were talking about. I wish the scene didn't cut.
Something had to have happened there. Well, somebody made a point in the comments. What do you think about this? That's why Tyrion was so optimistic in those scenes later in the episode, when they were all sitting around saying that he thinks that they're going to survive this, that they can win, because just hearing it from Bran, maybe Bran shared some sort of information with him that he believes that they do have a real chance.
I mean, maybe. I don't know, because Bran can only see the present in the past, right?
Yeah, can he see the future?
I don't think
No, he
so.
can't, right? No.
Jojen could.
And then he could only see...
That boy.
Well, he had like little visions.
They need little grandpa back.
And then he can only see stuff he's looking for, right? Because he didn't know that Jon was a legitimate Targaryen. He thought he was just a bastard, but from a different family. So it's things like that. Like, if he doesn't know what he's looking for, how much does he actually know? And then if you don't know what you're looking for, can you ever find it?
Well, that was a point too. Yeah,
Isn't that just life?
He's looking. He's literally looking for the needle in the haystack.
Yeah.
Which I think he said it to Sansa when he says you look beautiful that night, because he's trying to, like, I think he said he needs to learn how to see better. And the Three-Eyed Raven did say he wasn't ready to take on this burden, and it might be because he doesn't know how to look for information. From what I remember of the scenes where he and the Three-Eyed Raven were going back in time, like, the Three-Eyed Raven seemed to, like, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was looking for. He knew what he was showing Bran and what Bran can handle.
If time is the enemy right now, if Bran needs to know certain things, it kind of felt, I guess maybe there was a moment in between season 5 that Bran had to understand how to hone this power to control it. And I guess that's what they were spending time on. But if there are key things that this guy needs to tell Bran, you would think that he would have told him. The line with Arya where she says, can Dragonfire kill the Night King? And Bran says, no one's ever tried it. So has he gone into the past and tried to have learned how other people tried to kill the Night King?
Yeah.
That's my question.
He has to have tried to look. I mean,
that's the thing.
I'm thinking too, like, how great was that Varys and Littlefinger scene? If Bran went back and saw the chaos of the ladder speech, but didn't see how Azor Ahai defeated the Night King originally.
Right. Well, how did he get there? I guess it's because he
good
knew
quality dialogue between two characters.
Imagine he
wonder...
just kept rewatching season 3. That's all he knows.
He just had to binge.
He knows season 3 references, and that's it.
I had it.
He probably knows, like, I don't know if it's a way, like, he knows something he's not telling the others, or they don't want to tell the audience.
The others?
No.
You think he's working with the Night King?
The other people in the war room.
I think him being the Night King can officially be squashed after this episode.
How so?
It doesn't feel true. I keep saying it. It looks like the story is going to go beyond the Night King. Mm-hmm. That there's rumblings. Have you heard this? The rumors of a Hodor level twist at the end of the season.
No,
Yeah.
We expected something like pretty. We talked about it in the predictions. Like, we wanted to see something.
There's a theory floating around there that people are saying is kind of spot on with the ideas that we've had for the ending. Yeah. We haven't been able to put it together. I don't want to read it because if it comes true, it's...
Yeah, we'll leave it vague. But we've expected. We talked about and speculated that there has to be another, like, what the fuck, especially with Brandon and Night King, and that just their mental fortitude and what they can do with their, like, we don't even know what Bran is capable of for the most part. Like, we have a sense, but do we really know? And the Night King, forget about it. Like, he's a mystery, and he still is, and that's the best part about his character is we really don't know what he can do, what he wants, and what he's going to do to reach his goal. So I think
I love how they hold him
there could
back.
be something in the Godswood where they just fucking get together and they just trip acid.
Seriously,
yeah.
It's like a Goku Frieza fight where they're in there for 8 hours, but it's only been 2 minutes in real time. It's going to be yeah. That's why Bran's been my favorite part of the season, and the Night King too. I can't wait to see what he does. I guess we'll go to the moment between Jon and Daenerys. It was funny how Jon was avoiding Daenerys throughout the entire episode.
He's so bad at not telling the truth.
He's really bad at it. You think you hold that in to the end of the battle. I guess maybe it's we might all die, so let me tell her.
But I also felt it seemed like the guilt was eating at him. Like he needed to tell her for him to go into the battle okay. It seemed like he wouldn't have been able to do his best unless he told her.
Yeah, he needed to just get that weight off of his shoulders.
Which, it's a pretty big weight to suddenly learn that you're the true heir to the Seven Kingdoms.
No, it sounds like it's absolutely crazy. Even when he's saying it to her, it's like he still can't believe it. And it's such a brilliant theory, the way that it was set up.
It's almost like he wanted her to tell him that it was wrong, in a way.
Well, I think the scene cuts, and this was obviously on purpose, before Jon can say, I don't want to be king.
Yeah,
because that's his natural response, and Daenerys should know that. He was reluctant to give up the Northern Crown because he thought that they would just rebel against him, which they kind of did. Even after bringing Daenerys and her allies, they were still mad at him. At this point, it doesn't even matter because he said it time and time again. He doesn't want these positions of power. They're given to him because he's a natural leader, but she should know that. I guess in the moment it is so shocking.
Yeah,
to
no,
learn.
it's a fucking lot to be dropped on you.
Yeah.
And
She was much better this episode. Her
Daenerys?
scene with Sansa, this scene with Jon, I really enjoyed her in the second episode.
you think they'll ever, like, what do you think it'll take for Daenerys to be like, okay, I believe him? He already rode Rhaegal. Maybe
Yeah.
that could be. Maybe they run into the Reeds, some Howland and Mira at some point, either retreating or if they win and they meet up. Who knows? But
Well, the thing with Rhaegal, too, is there's no information on dragons. The Targaryens kept no information on how to control them because they wanted to keep that secret. So she probably doesn't know about the theory of keeping the bloodlines pure to control the dragons.
no, I'm sure maybe they do something where like just a bunch of different people try to hop on Rhaegal and they don't.
Let me try something here.
Yeah. It's like, you, try to get on them. It's like, nope, that didn't work.
Gendry.
Ooh.
It works for like 2 minutes. It's like Captain America nudging. I said it in the review that maybe this puts doubt in Daenerys' head during the battle because now she might see Jon as competition. But I can't see her taking it that far. That's a little extreme.
It did feel like that scene was directly calling back to Sam when he had asked Jon if she would be willing to give up her crown for her people.
You think that's maybe in Jon's head? It's thinking, let's see what she says here. I don't want the crown, but I want to see what she says. If she offers it to me, I'll say no.
I think in light of her reaction, I wouldn't be surprised if he thought of it. Because obviously he doesn't want to be king of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, that's the last thing he wants. I'm sure, like, if he survives this, he kind of just wants to, like, disappear to the middle of nowhere.
But
And you could see that it's weighing on him even in that first scene when she says, what does the Warden of the North think? Whatever. Can he fight? He's got one hand, right? So give him his sword back and let's move on.
I've made this point numerous times. They viewed it differently. Jon never wanted to be king. Daenerys, it's her birthright. It's her character. That's what she's been all about since she finally, after Viserys died and she got her dragons and Khal Drogo died, that's her destiny to be queen of the Seven Kingdoms. And Jon, that was never a thought in his mind. In a million years, he could have never dreamed of being or thought about being king of Westeros. So it is different. If I was in Daenerys' position too, I would say, hey, this is what I wanted my whole life. Like, you might have a better claim than I do, but that's still you still bent the knee.
Yeah, and
So-
it also goes back to their childhoods because even though Jon was considered an outsider by Catelyn, his brothers loved him, his father loved him. He had a good childhood growing up. Daenerys did not. Daenerys has been on the run her entire life. The only thing that she's ever known, the only person she had a relationship with was her psycho older brother, who filled her head. The fact that Daenerys is this sane and this good-hearted is actually a miracle because this guy's been filling her head with awful ideas of rebellion and taking back the throne and murdering innocent people, murdering your enemies. That's all she's ever known. And she still has that compassion to put her people before herself, everything that she did in Essos, everything that she accomplished. So you can understand why she's a little obsessed with taking back the Iron Throne, because that's been her entire life. Jon's entire life has been, oh, I might not be the Warden of the North, I guess I'll join the Night's Watch, which turns out to be a poor decision. And that changes his viewpoint fundamentally, where he doesn't want anything to do with positions of power. But even in the books, going back to the books, he talked about dreaming of being a great warrior that would raise castles and defeat his enemies. So he had some of that ambition, but not to that extent.
Yeah, I would say that for Daenerys at least, the idea, especially after Drogo died and she lost her baby, the idea that she was destined to become the ruler, the one sitting on the Iron Throne, is what kept her alive.
Yeah.
For like everything that's happened to her. Because otherwise, like if she didn't have this thing to hold on to, there are so many times she could have just decided to die.
Yeah, she says that in season 7, that faith in Daenerys Targaryen is what kept her alive.
And especially like Jon telling her that his best friend and his brother are the ones who told him. I don't blame her for being skeptical. Like, as the audience, we know it's true. We've seen all the evidence. We've seen what Bran has seen, and we know what Sam has read. But from her point of view, I don't blame her for being like, how do you, like, are you, like, literally trying to stage a coup right now? Like, is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous coup. Oh, my best friend and my brother said I'm king. That's such a good point. No, I think she'll come to her senses within the next couple of episodes, and to leave it on that final moment between them was brilliant, because we get the moment of Tyrion overlooking the battlements, looking at the army of the dead.
Well, I don't think it's a question of her coming to her senses. It's just in that moment, too. She didn't know the battle was going to start.
Yeah.
So I think you just put that apart until after, and then after the battle's over, I think she'd have every right to be like, all right, I don't care. I'm the queen. I have...
Well, it's so much easier.
How
like
many
you always
dragons
say.
I have left? I don't know how many she'll have left.
How many do we have here?
But it's something too where
Get married.
Yeah, that's so easy.
You rule. I'll be king. You rule. You're the queen. You'll sit on the Iron Throne. Jon's probably going to be hanging out with like Tyrion.
Well, even too in that conversation with Sansa and Daenerys, and Sansa's like, "What about after? What about Winterfell?" It's like, yeah, your brother who's the Warden of the North, he bent the knee. So why is it a conversation right now?
That was very interesting. Sansa, you think that Daenerys is coming to extend an olive branch, and Sansa receives it, but then the conversation switches to, hey, so are we still independent after the long night? Daenerys is like, whoa, buddy.
Remember last episode when you said Winterfell, your grace, and your brother bent the knee, and this is why we're having this little...
Bran was right there. He saw it. He'll
Yeah.
bring up the tape. What did you think about the beginning of that conversation? Daenerys saying that she was the one who was manipulated by Jon. I thought that was cute and true.
I just remember thinking, I was like, wow, Daenerys is so like cheerful in this conversation. Like she looks so happy right now.
She did, yeah. Well, when she made that
Also,
joke
the scene was like pretty well lit, and I was like, I could see them.
Yeah, this season has been very dark, not thematically, just visually.
I thought you were talking about like, oh, the scene was lit.
This scene was very well lit.
I like how Daenerys brings up their similarities and is like, we should be friends or at least respect each other. I don't know why we have this divide. And they list like, we're two women who rose to position of power in a world that usually looks down upon that. And, you know, Sansa has that little laugh, like she kind of like realizes, oh, maybe I was being a little unfair to you. And you're kind of right when she's talking about how Jon might have manipulated her, and from that different perspective. It's a nice little back and forth, too. And it's interesting, too, Daenerys says that Jon is true to his word in this scene, too. So she knows the person who Jon is. So I guess going to that last episode and that last scene. And again, she had no time to reflect. Dropped the bomb on her. 3 phone horns. All right. We'll get back to this. But yeah, she takes that hand away fucking real quick.
I'm not surprised that Sansa brought it up, though.
No, me neither.
Especially, like, she said, we've fought for, and so many other people fought for Winterfell, took it back. Her family has been decimated, so it makes sense that she's asking, like, do I get to keep this afterwards? And I guess it's, like, in what manner she gets to keep it.
Yeah, she was talking about independence, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was definitely, like, Robb died because he wanted to be king in the North, essentially. He tried to become king in the North, and it almost feels like she's trying to finish it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. She makes a point in season 7 that don't make the same mistakes that Robb and Father made. maybe she's starting to make those mistakes herself.
Or maybe she thinks she can do it better. Like maybe she thinks the way she's playing it.
I still think if you, in a hypothetical, say the Iron Throne is still around, and I'm starting to think that somebody might be sitting on the Iron Throne by the end of this series, that it might not mean the same thing, but somebody will be sitting on it. Hypothetically, Jon would make the best king out of any character in the show. But now I'm starting to think maybe it would be Sansa, because Sansa has that ruthlessness like Cersei. She's got some Cersei and Tywin in her, but she's also got the compassion of a Stark. She's had all the best teachers.
Isn't there a line in season 1 when Ned says he doesn't want to sit on the Iron Throne, and someone says that's why he would make the best king, or something along those lines?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember.
I think that's a pretty common thing though, like in general.
Is it Varys who says it?
I'm not. It's something along those lines, but that's that's Jon to a T. He doesn't want to sit in the Iron Throne.
Oh well, Ned is miserable the whole first season.
But it's like,
and Robert even tells
we've
him.
always looked back like he was, maybe if he's in the ultimate position of power, he wouldn't have to be able to have to play the game as well as a Tyrion. But he was so bad at it, and we always said Tyrion played the game the best because, and Daenerys references it in this episode, he's ruthless when he has to be. Well, and he was in season 2. He was very smart, kind-hearted, but he was also ruthless, and that's exactly what Daenerys says when she was talking about how Tyrion used to be.
Well, Ned was in the wrong position.
Yeah.
Hand is not the position for Ned.
Well, no, I said it might have been different if he was in the ultimate position.
Okay, right, yeah. You get Jon on the throne, you make Tyrion his hand. That's a 30-year golden age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think it's a pretty, like in other types of stories too, like it's always the person who doesn't want the power that ends up being the best suited for it.
George Washington, my boy. He really is like fucking George Washington, Jon Snow. Even going to the scene in Hardhome where he's crossing the Delaware.
But I don't know. I think you're right though. I think Sansa would be. Did you said Sansa?
Yeah. I think
because
I always said Jon, but I'm starting to think it's Sansa. She's got the best combination of all of those.
She's closest to Tyrion as we've seen. I mean, season 2 Tyrion at least, that the decency and kind-heartedness to be honorable at times, but there's also a time where you got to be a little ruthless. And she's learned from Tyrion. She's learned from Cersei. She's learned from Daenerys. She learned from Littlefinger. There's so many different people she's been around, and instead of just kind of like being friends and having like that mutual admiration or respect, she's kind of opposed them. And you're able to learn when you're bouncing things off each other and you're kind of debating throughout this time. So she's picking up all these little things, and she's kind of maybe a better version of Tyrion.
What do you think about Tyrion? I'm thinking that we're going to get some old school Tyrion in these next couple of episodes.
He has to.
Because he starts out by doubting himself. It's that scene between him and Daenerys where he has that moment where he says, one of you is going to be handed the queen by the time this is all said and done. But then by the end of the episode, he's confident again, where he's telling everybody, we have a chance to win this. Let's drink. Let's celebrate. There has to be something that he has in store where we're going to say, that's season 2 Tyrion. That's why Daenerys said to him in the war room, you outthink everybody in this room. You outthink everybody in the world. We need to get one last great Tyrion moment because he's one of the main characters. He's part of the big 3. I think that realistically, the big 3 of the show is Jon, Dany, and Tyrion. So I'm hoping he does something.
He has to. He can't just sit in the crypts the whole time. And we alluded to there's probably something going to be going on inside of the crypts.
He's up top. Maybe it's too late for him to get down there.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's not in that shot with Varys and Gilly. I love how Varys found his way in the crypts. What about me, Your Grace?
Well, they're trying to send anyone in the crypts.
No, you can fight.
Everyone's going to the crypts.
Yeah.
It's fucking going to be popping off.
Hell yeah. Crypt walking down there with Podrick singing. No, Podrick's fighting. Guess we'll touch on Podrick's song here for a little bit.
Yeah.
Such a great deep cut. Jenny's song, something that I thought I would never hear in Game of Thrones. And you said that you were a little upset that Podrick was singing it. I don't know. You think Peter Dinklage has the pipes?
I don't know, but when you were just talking about like the implications of the song and how deep it is and all these theories and the Song of Ice and Fire and Rhaegar and all the history and lore, and you think, oh, the guy who was with the prostitutes, and he's the one singing the song while his montage is happening, and the next scene is Jon and Daenerys, and Jon telling Daenerys who he really is.
The theory is that it was Rhaegar who wrote the song. So there's a character in the books, the Ghost of Highheart, and the Brotherhood Without Banners. They visit her to hear her visions, and she tells them about Robb's death, about Renly's death. She has prophetic powers, and in order to get the prophecy from her, they have to sing her Jenny's song. So the theory, to make a long story short, is that the writer of Jenny's song was Rhaegar, and that the song's true name is the Song of Ice and Fire, and that it contains the prophecy of the prince who was promised. That he hid the prophecy within a song, and that song indicates Jon Snow, because he's ice and fire, Rhaegar, Lyanna. So that's just a theory. It's not been confirmed. But to me, I personally think it's George R. R. Martin's most brilliant work, if it is true. That's why it transitions to Jon and Daenerys there at the end.
I don't think in the episode up until that point he'd actually said anything. And I thought it was
No, he didn't.
I thought it was hilarious that like he's just like been around making funny faces, drinking wine, and then they're like, "Who's gonna sing a song?" And he just belts.
Wait.
Out.
Is that description of him in this episode or just the entire show?
This episode specifically, but
that's kind of like what he's been doing. Yes, my lord. No, my lord.
My lady.
My lady. Sorry.
And I was like, and it's like he's actually singing pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I didn't realize the song was such an important thing to Game of Thrones lore or
Florence
theories.
Welch, man, fucking ripped that apart.
It was great. I was listening to it about like 3 times last night just while
That
I was
might be
doing the
one of
review. Did you see the music video that they cut together
Yeah,
of all the shots and the lyrics?
I don't know if it's close between that and the
Brother, oh brother.
No, the Reigns of Castamere cover. I forget what band it is with the guy who's like,
And who? Yeah.
like that's a tight cover too.
I think the Reigns of Castamere, I always go back and forth between the Reigns of Castamere and the North Remembers, which is my favorite theme.
Yeah, but now Jenny's song coming in fucking hot.
I think Reigns of Castamere is the best musically,
Yeah.
but the North Remembers evokes so much emotion from me whenever I hear it. Jaime and Brienne in love, right? They gotta be.
Or like the greatest love triangle of all time.
Roman is hilarious. When he tells this story about drinking the giant's breast milk and then he just chugs his horn and spills half of it on him, I'm like, hell yeah.
That was so good. The Horn of Jormungand. People have been commenting that in the comments. Like, oh, he's got the Horn of Winter.
Could be the dragon horn.
Dude. It's not too late.
What, Euron's just gonna come
It's
with
not
the
too
fucking
fucking
dragon
late,
horn?
dude. It's not too late.
It's too late.
I don't know.
It's too late. That's my hound.
It's too late, babe. Oh, Hound and Arya.
Yeah.
What did you think about that, Marissa? I know you loved the Hound and Arya, right? When they were together.
Oh yeah, they were my favorite. It was like the biggest 2 of all time.
It's the best pairing, I think, out of any characters.
Like, especially for one, they were together for a while. I love the way they interact with each other now that so much time has passed. Like, we've only seen them do it twice, but they hate each other, but not really. It's like they acknowledge that they spent this time together and that they have like a bond because of it, but they won't admit that they kind of like each other. It's great. I love it.
That was the closest the Hound will ever get to saying, I love you, is I fought for you.
I think we'll
It's
see.
almost more powerful.
We'll see something with them on the battle and during the battle.
I think
You
he's
have
one of the
to.
characters that dies. That's another death flag when she was describing everything that he's done in the recent seasons, how he's kind of transformed his philosophy. I think this is where he makes his final stand.
I'm not too sure about that. I think.
I would love for him to survive. You think he survives? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm a big Hound guy.
I think Arya dies. You can't get both of them.
In episode 3.
Maybe. I'm going back and forth, man, because there's just so much like.
I think Gendry's the one who dies in episode 3.
So much that still has to play out after this, and it's like, what role do these characters? They still might have a role to play, and I don't know. I keep going back and forth.
But people always insist that George promised his wife that Arya lives.
What are you gonna like? That's like a fun.
I mean, she could live in the books.
That's also like a fun thing to say, you know? Yeah, promise my like. It's. He's not gonna spoil that. I take no meaning out of that.
There's also the outline of the 6 characters who were going to live. She was one of them. Very early outline. I mean, that was a whole different world.
Yeah, there were fucking turtles back then.
Well, I think there were turtles instead of direwolves.
Well, that's how he started the. You ever hear that? Like that's how he got the idea for a Song of Ice and Fire. Is like he was watching his turtles.
Oh no, I never heard that. I know he's a big turtle guy.
Yeah, something about turtle. I don't know.
He is. He's always like posting pictures of his
Maybe
pet
I
turtle.
made that up, but it's I don't know. And then
Shaped like a turtle.
I guess Arya, she leaves that scene to practice her archery.
Yeah, practices. My spear never misses. Is that a Gendry line or a Tyrion line? Gendry was sneaking up on her, dude.
I think the memes for this one have been between this and
The first episode.
yeah, there've been some solid memes, but you know, it's a nice moment. I didn't expect to see this. I thought it was going to be one of those like they never had the chance to have an intimate moment. It's there, all the signs. They had the flirting back and forth, the looks. Then the battle comes and one of them ends up dying.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, it's nice that they got to have this moment before the fucking end of the world.
Yeah, one of them dies.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you made a good point about the montage where they were showing those characters in twos.
Mm-hmm.
I think Theon is definitely a character that dies defending Bran.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be such a not a deserving death, but a poetic death, where that was the beginning of his downfall, is taking the castle from Bran, but then he dies defending him in the castle that he took.
And it's almost like an answer when he took the castle from Bran and Bran was like, "Did you hate us this whole time?" It's sort of like an answer to that question, even if he doesn't say anything out loud and Bran isn't really Bran anymore.
Right, well, Bran even has that head nod to him where it's almost he's confirming he got his answer for that question. And that's what I love about Bran, too. It's almost like the kid from Season 1 is being suffocated by all this information, but then he briefly comes up for air, and you see that old Bran. Yeah, I like the scene.
Oh, Dorian Gendry?
No, yeah, it was a good scene.
Yeah.
Nice side boob. I really didn't want to see her fully naked, and I know it's almost like prude of me.
Yeah, it's such a weird...
And I know she's...
I think the thing is people, like, we've been watching her since she was, like, so young, and someone tweeted, like, that was like watching your own daughter. Like, we grew up. But, I mean, for the character, I liked it a lot. And who cares?
I think it's because Maisie Williams still looks so young.
Yeah, she's got a baby face. She looks like somebody she's one of those actors like a Tom Holland where she can still play high school. It's funny, too, the arcs of Sansa and Arya almost made them more similar to one another, where Sansa has become a bit more stern and cold and willing to take power. And Arya now coming back to Winterfell, embracing her Stark identity, embracing her femininity, having this relationship with Gendry, where she's not that stone-cold assassin all the time, that she can still just be a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice. It was a sweet moment between these two. And fan servicey, yes, but like you said, they're adults.
I mean, what do you expect? The two characters that have been together for so long, they obviously liked each other, so you know where the world's going to end.
I legitimately never thought that Arya and Gendry was going to happen. I thought it was like...
That actually got spoiled for me.
Really?
In the comment section of our own video, of our non-Game of Thrones podcast video.
I saw it on Twitter, a picture.
I didn't know the episode got leaked until right before I watched it.
Yeah, it leaked in Germany. I almost don't even want to shine any light on people who spoil episodes and spoil things in general, but how pathetic of a human being do you have to be to do that?
It's annoying, and I don't.
It's like walking around and popping balloons.
Yeah.
So just fucking keep your hands to yourself. Well, what are you anticipating, Marissa, with the White Walkers next episode? We saw about like 12 of them at the end of the episode.
Probably more.
We've always been talking about that. We want to see them display some supernatural powers.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to see them do some more stuff than just kind of just running at swords or like getting blown up or whatever.
Or walking slowly.
Yeah.
With their spears.
But I've seen this floating around a lot. Do you think that the Night King is splitting his force?
Yes, I think so. You know what? Somebody made a point that it could be a little whispering wood. That he's taken a page out of Robb Stark's book.
Mm.
It's like I sent 2,000 dead men to their grave this morning. It's like, we'll just resurrect them. We'll just bring them back.
That'd be awesome.
And that the Night King is going somewhere else. Because Jaime brings up Whispering Wood.
Yeah, that is true. A lot of things get brought up that we haven't seen in a while. Well, not seen, but just reference, like Melisandre.
Was she referenced?
Yeah, when Gendry's telling him.
Oh, yeah, right.
Her about his past experiences.
You think she'll be in the next episode?
She has to be in one of these.
She's got to come up
she has
sometime.
to come back soon.
Yeah.
So you have that. Then you have Whispering. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that, but we talked about it in our prediction videos leading up to this season about the possibility Night King goes to King's Landing and revives the Golden Company and flanks them south. And there's so many different possibilities that can happen because they, if you want to promote the next episode, that last shot's going to be the Night King on Viserion, unless he's not there. Maybe he does like some Daenerys type deal.
Well, we haven't seen any dragons for that episode.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any aerial battles. And you would think if his goal is to take out Bran, he can just send his boys to do that, right?
I feel like
he was the one who wanted to kill the Three-Eyed Raven in Season 6, Episode 5.
I feel like he's a more I'll-do-it-myself type of guy.
Yeah.
You want the job done right, do it yourself.
Bran said he always knows where Bran is.
Yes, because of the mark.
He could afford to just sort of leave.
Yeah.
And then come back. I mean...
It's not a problem of finding out where he is.
It's just, like, getting to him. And if you've devastated King's Landing, like, where everyone in Winterfell, like the bulk of them plan to take over King's Landing next. And if you still manage to devastate them and also take over King's Landing, it's like, where do they go?
They're going to Pike. They are. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to Pike because they mentioned it, and the rumored title of one of the episodes, Exodus. Obviously, the titles haven't been true, but there's also a shot of. This is not really a spoiler, but it's Jon and Tyrion on a boat. That was a set photo that they officially released. So they're going to get massacred at Winterfell. So if he takes out King's Landing, then where do you go? The smart place would be to go to Pike because the Night King's army can't swim. He can fly, though.
Yeah, that leads to what we feel like is going to go down at King's Landing. So,
what the hell is going on down there?
I wonder.
Partying? You heard this new Podrick Bay? We've been bumping Low Rack all night. Put on the Pod album.
I forget which
she
season.
banned the Imps Delight.
That doesn't play anymore.
No.
What's it? I forget which season this was. I think it was either 1 or 2. But when Bran is first having his visions, and I think this happened in the show, he sees a vision of the Iron Throne with snow on it.
Yes. Daenerys does too.
And I mean, it's very, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that came true next episode. Or, I mean, at some point. But, like, I feel like it's, I don't know. It would make sense if the Night King, if he were to split his forces, say he does do that, and then he takes over King's Landing, like, he decimates the castle.
You got to think.
Well, him to travel to King's Landing is going to at least take like 3 weeks.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
A dragon? Daenerys
but with his forces.
Oh, yeah,
because somebody brought up the point, too. If he burns all of King's Landing, he can't bring them back. He could still do that. That could be his plan. He just goes, but then Cersei dies.
Well,
we don't want that.
We're not going to not see Cersei for 2 straight episodes.
I think it was strange that she wasn't in this episode, but I think it's almost like a Battle of the Bastards situation where the majority of the focus was on Jon, but then we got those scenes with Daenerys. I think that's what we'll get with Cersei. Hour 20, it's not going to be the whole episode of the battle. And it looks like it's going to start at the very beginning, so we might get some aftermath, and then maybe the episode ends with Cersei.
Or it might start with Cersei.
Right, yeah.
This is just like a random thing, but about the crypt, you think the dead are coming back to life, or the whites get in?
No, I think the dead are coming back to life in the crypts. Are you talking about the Kings of Winter?
It's so obvious. Like, if
I think
like Jon
should be obvious to us.
I wonder.
For them.
Yeah, I think Jon might be like,
you're not going to burn the crypts. It would have been cool if somebody brought it up and Jon's like, no.
Or he had to.
That could be something that slips the mind. It's like what people complain about with Doctor Strange. Why didn't he just create one of the portals around Thanos' wrist and close it? Because he didn't think of it. Yeah, sometimes it slips the mind, but...
I mean, there is that shot of Arya running in the crypts.
Yeah.
So, like, something is happening down there.
Yes.
We know something will go wrong. I want to know what it is.
I can't wait for this fucking episode, dude.
I think I got everything I wanted to say. I wrote Gendry looking like a McFlurry. I figured I would throw that out there.
There was that scene he knew that she was watching him, I think. When he's
with
like,
the steam?
Yeah. I was like, he knew. He was prepared.
Yeah. Very smooth.
Oh, another thing. Bran said he was waiting for an old friend last episode, but why was he waiting? Like, he doesn't tell Jaime really anything of note, and he doesn't speak up at his pseudo trial.
I think it was just cool.
It seemed like he wanted to do it for the drama.
Yeah, he's a drama queen in this season. He really is. He's so over dramatic.
That's just a thought I had. I guess they talk that was after the trial, so
yes,
you just want to see him first.
Right. Yeah, it was a cool ending.
I think as much as Bran says that he is not Bran anymore, he is.
Yeah, no, it's
like
still in there. I saw it right away when he embraces Jon. Well, Jon embraces him, but he smiled at him.
And it's like...
He's probably just learning, like, maybe ease up on the weirdness.
Yeah.
Him not being able to walk obviously has been a huge thing for him. Like, in his visions, like, when he was first learning to go back into the past, like, he wanted to stay there because he was able to walk in the past and all of these things. So if you have a chance to see the guy who paralyzed you in the first place, even if you claim that you're not angry about it anymore, it seemed like Bran needed to do that.
Yeah, for himself. And almost to bury it.
Yeah. Which is why, like, I don't know. I kind of want Bran to break, if that makes sense.
Meaning that he breaks with this cold exterior.
Yeah, like, I want something to happen where, like, I don't know, like.
You know where I saw that in season 7 when he goes back and watches Rhaegar and Lyanna's wedding? Just his face there, because he looks so stunned. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of season 6 Bran.
I also feel like that maybe reminded him of the things he thinks he knows, but
Right,
doesn't
yeah,
actually. Like,
Right.
the information he can still be missing despite having access to it all.
So there was some self-doubt there.
I mean, I feel like that's partially it, but also, like, finding out that Jon is actually the next Targaryen heir is huge.
It would be like kind of interesting to see, like, hypothetically, if the Night King just massacred everybody, Jon, Sansa, Arya, and he's the last one, and he just fucking loses it.
That would be crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like Catelyn almost.
I really want, like, some kind of emotional outburst. Like, anything.
We might get one when he gets one-on-one with the Night King. If
Yeah.
anybody's going to provoke him, it's somebody on that level.
Yeah, I mean, I do like emotionless Bran. I've always been, like, really interested in his story as it's, like, progressed throughout the seasons, even when they ditched him for all of season 5.
Big mistake.
I feel like when you make a character who is, like, so young and curious like that, suddenly overwhelmed and kind of, like, dead, it's something that I just want to see personally, and I can't even, like, explain it properly.
No, I understand what you're saying. That if it becomes overwhelming, and he just, like you said, he breaks.
It's like that's
It
personally
destroys him.
something I really like in stories when, like, an emotionless character has an emotional breakdown.
Well, it's like when I watch My Hero, I just want Bakugo to smile once. When they're just so far.
It reminds me, Avatar, The Last Airbender, when Aang goes into the Avatar state when he freaks out. Those
Yes.
are my favorite moments
Yeah.
in the show. Something that's out of character for a character that has been established to be a certain way, I think. I mean, obviously, those are the best character moments.
Just a moment of severe vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because you're not expecting it for Bran. All right, so what did you guys think about this episode overall? What would you give it for scores?
I'll very likely try to wrap this up, and I made my Gendry McFlurry comment, and it just
Spiraled into.
like a half hour,
We got some good stuff.
10-minute more conversation. Yeah,
Yeah, I would still say this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
I feel like you don't value my jokes enough. That's
I
an
don't.
example of how.
Well, because you tell me before the podcast, he's like, yo, I got like 6 or 7 jokes for this podcast. And I'm like, okay. All right.
Keep you on your toes. And
It'll
I
be-
get you too. You're like,
But
oh,
the joke is
and you're
supposed to be a surprise. That's what a joke
but
is.
you're like, oh, now I'm not gonna laugh, and every time I get a little smile at you.
I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous how you're telling me about your jokes. Like, yeah, he said he was going to do that. You just completely ruined the element of surprise of a joke.
That's subversion. I'm surprising you by ruining the
That's
surprise.
the joke.
9 out of 10. Yeah.
Kristen Shaw is a horse? Yeah, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Maybe a little higher for me. Just reiterating that point. And I think when we look back on this episode, especially what we expect to happen next week, it's gonna be a tough watch. And yeah, I said this a million times already, but I'll end it on this. It's just a perfect calm before that storm.
Yeah, it's a calm before the storm.
Yeah, I would say it's a calm before the storm.
Yeah, it's definitely like a calm.
Already-
Usually the calm comes after the
I already
storm.
acknowledged that I said it a million times, so you don't have to double down on my acknowledgement.
I was gonna say, depending on how the rest of the season plays out, I think will dramatically change how we see these first 2 episodes.
Oh yeah, and that's the case with every season for every show. It's you just have to wait until the season's over until you truly judge each episode individually.
Yeah, we still have what,
Because they're just pieces to a whole.
5.5 hours of Game of Thrones left.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's depressing.
I know, but there's still plenty of time. So
Yeah,
even
there's
if
a
you
lot.
thought the first 2 were filler and they kind of didn't meet your expectations of fucking jumping right out of the gate, there's still so much time left to develop, to finish the story.
All right, guys. So you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud at the Nerd Soup Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back again next week.
Probably should have threw that in the beginning. Huh?
Well, this podcast is like the calm before next week's storm.
And I'm just saying, like, for the iTunes and stuff, probably in the beginning, because now they've already...
It's on the thumbnail. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video, and before we go, I want to quickly thank our Patreon supporters. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to grow and evolve as a channel, so thank you for your generous pledges. If you are interested in supporting our channel through Patreon, visit www.patreon.com/nerdsoup, and you can see the different rewards we offer to our Patreon supporters. T-shirts, mugs, stickers, access to our behind-the-scenes video, and more. Thanks again for watching this video, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Or dislike, don't share, and unsubscribe. It's a binary world, folks.